Hey, what's up guys? My name is Lei and welcome back to my channel. So recently I was being flooded with information about Chinese SEC, Securities and Exchange Committee, blocking the IPO of Ant Financial, Ant Group, on its listing on Shanghai Stock Exchange, also Hong Kong Stock Exchange. So what's happening there? In our last episode, we have briefly touched upon it. I was using a bunch of reasons to compare the market cap of the big listed companies to see how much should the Ant Group, the Ant Financial, really worth. This time, the suspension of this giant IPO is unexpected and surprising to everyone. But I do think there is a solid point there to suspend it now for further check. Well, you know what? This is not actually what I know today after it was suspended, but years ago, I already discovered there is this issue there. Well, at that time, this issue is not big enough to draw the attentions of the regulators and the media and the mass public. That's why it's not 100% surprise to me to hear this news, because I think this issue has been lasting for at least several years, while it's never really dealt with. The Ant Financial, the Ant Group, which is affiliate of Alibaba, its IPO valuation is record high. It was supposed to be the biggest IPO ever in history. Well, from various reliable media sources, its valuation is a bit different. The numbers are mostly ranging from 200 trillion US dollars to 400 trillion US dollars, while there's also wild cast of over $1,000 trillion of valuations of Ant Group. Well, you can ignore the numbers for now because it's all from different sources and people have different valuations of Ant Group and Financial. And it's based on the old valuation. If what I'm going to say about Ant Financial is going to be the direction of this event to be happening towards, or if this valuation is adjusted to kind of my understanding, then in the end of the day, the real valuation of Ant Group might be much lower than we expected. That's why 1 month ago, when all the media, all the information, all the YouTubers are celebrating or so excited for the IPO of Ant Financial, actually I always have a doubt deeply in my heart. Well, by all means, I don't mean Ant is not a good company, because it's a good company and it's worth investing. However, the valuation of Ant Financial has its problem. And I think its valuation before the suspension is overly high, it's too expensive to buy or to invest in. So let's have a look at now why Ant is pulled back at the last step to the capital market by the regulators. And what's my thinking about its valuation? Why do I say so? The core reason is exactly what I was concerned about it years ago. The business of Ant Group includes lending. So basically it's get the money from the banks, while as media lend the money to the small businesses or small individuals and then charge a certain fee in the middle as a platform. This is lending in nature, but however, it was not subjected to the lending regulations. It was not checked or be regulated as a bank, which means that it has its own cash pool and it uses this cash pool for lending, and without leverages, they can exert multiple and no limited leverages on its own cash pool. I think you will be as surprised as me if you know that Ant actually can have its own cash pool and can lending the money to the small business and individuals without limitation. So basically it can use leverage to unlimitedly lending the money. During the bubbles of the fintech companies in China, which is around like 2015 to 2018, I've seen so many fintech companies collapse and fall because of this reason, because of its cash pool and lending while without regulation. This operation, if to say very exact, is incompliant. As we know that banks, as the representative of the finance industry, they are subject to very strict regulations and have a lot of limitations on its operations. While the logic of Ant Group is to be strategically a tech company, not a finance company, not a bank. That's also why it changes its name from Ant Financial to Ant Group. So strategically, it's very obvious that Ant is targeting to be a tech company in the future, to be tech-driven and to be doing tech business. However, its real business involves lending, involves what the banks is doing, while it's not regulated as strictly as the bank. And I have to say the fact that tech companies are much more valued on capital market than financial institutions like banks. To put it simply, tech company worth a lot more money than banks on capital market, which is the Shanghai Stock Exchange and Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Especially in China, the PE ratio, which is the price per earning ratio, is insanely different between tech companies and bank companies. If we say a PE ratio of a bank is 6, which is roughly the number of the big banks that is listed in Shanghai Stock Exchange, then a PE ratio of a tech company can be easily over 200 on Shanghai Stock Exchange. So from today's numbers, let's have a look at the PE ratio of the biggest bank in China and also a newly listed, very popular tech company in China. So ICBC, aka Industrial Commercial Bank of China, its PE ratio is around 6 today, while SMIC, aka the Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation, its PE ratio is 270. So that means if we say if one share of ICBC worth $6, then one share of SMIC worth $270. This is called valuation. This is the simplest way to see the valuation differences. To make it super easy to understand, I also have done an episode about using a bunch of prices to compare the market cap and the valuation of the listed companies here. So welcome to check it out. It's very interesting. So here, have you already got the reasons why the Chinese SEC is stopping Ant Financial's IPO? It is exactly that they are evaluating whether Ant Group is a tech company or a financial company. If they are a financial company like the banks, then what regulations and what preparation should they still going through? So how can they be as compliant as banks before they are listed on the capital market? And if they are a tech company, how should they deal with their business, which is in nature the bank services, what the banks do? And if it's a tech company, then what should they do to be compliant with its lending business or other services that actually a bank is doing? So this question confuses every investor, confuses every common person, also it confuses the regulators. That's why they have called this IPO back off and suspend it temporarily to deal with, to see what's the solution about that. So basically it's a lot about its valuation and about its business in nature. What's the solution to be compliant and what's the valuation should it be? Is it a bank or is it a tech company? Although there is a possibility that the Chinese SEC completely blocked this deal and completely stopped the IPO of Ant Group. However, I personally do think this likelihood is not high, this probability is not high. I think the IPO is more likely to be still ongoing and to be processing. However, how much time that will take, really, I don't know. And the issue is here to come with the solution that whether the Ant Group should be characterized as a tech company or a bank, and if in either way, how to deal with its business that's in nature what is the bank is doing, while it's not strictly regulated now as a bank. Well, that might take quite some time to solve. And now your attention. For those who always wanted to invest in the Ant Group, no need to be really panicked because of the suspension or because of this stop, because it's very likely that depending on some time, the IPO will still be going on. Just before that, have to solve this issue. Well, I think it's still worthwhile to keep an eye on the Ant Group because it's really good and innovative company. However, do pay attention to its valuation. If it's ever be evaluated as a bank and not a tech company, its valuation probably will draw a lot more. And it may still be a tech company, however, maybe it has to spin off or get rid of it partially of some business. So it really depends. It's critical that you investors do keep an eye on how it's valuated and what's the appropriate price to buy in, to invest in. And for those who are always short on Ant Group, I also don't have much to add or to say because I think any investment is your personal choice. I'm very curious and will keep an eye on how the Chinese regulator, the SEC, see this issue and how they deal with this issue. And I'm also going to keep an eye on how the IPO is going to be processed in the future. And let's wait and see. So this is pretty much today's episode. Besides wealth and investment topics, I also talk about intimate relationships and personal growth. Welcome to check my videos out. And thank you for your attention and support. And only upon your support can I further produce better quality videos. So thank you very much. Please subscribe my channel if you haven't done so, and welcome to drop a comment below. I would be very happy to communicate with you guys. So I'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned. Bye bye.